So if you plan to purchase a home and then you also plan to sell a home, buying a home, that is your choice. Selling a home is not your choice.
That's a good point.
You can put it on the market all you want, but somebody has to buy it.
Welcome to the Fiscal Foxhole, the podcast proving you don't need a degree in finance, just some grit, a game plan, and maybe a sense of humor. Your hosts are retired Army veteran Rob Moore and retired Marine veteran Omen. Together, they'll help you dodge financial landmines, call in the air support on your savings, and laugh at the ridiculous money mistakes we've all made. If you can survive mandatory fund days, you can survive personal finance. Welcome to the Foxhole.
Hi, welcome to the Fiscal Foxhole. I'm your host for today, Rob Moore, and joining me, as always, is my favorite Marine with a jarhead full of financial knowledge. It's Omen. Hey, buddy.
Rob, I appreciate your comment there. That's always fun and
That's right.
a little
I
bit
believe
weird.
in you.
No, you don't believe in me at all. A little bit weird with you hosting today.
Hey, we're both starting businesses. And we want our wives to believe in us, right? And that's always like a 50-50 day to day. So at least we believe in each other, right?
So is
Hey,
this what this is? This podcast is so that our wives believe that we actually do something every day?
Exactly. Fooled them, right? Well, it's finally beautiful fall weather here in Virginia. We spent the day yesterday out at Great Country Farms in rural Virginia, Bluemont, Virginia. It's really nice out there. Fall weather's upon us. Just a tip, first financial tip to active duty military. They're free out there for active duty and their families. Free admission to Great Country. We are not sponsored by them, but it's really great for on weekdays, on weekends and holidays. Not free, but we went yesterday because it was convenient. But just nice to kind of have fall weather finally upon us.
Yeah. I thought you actually were going to say free tip to active duty military. Just get outside. Just
Touch
go
grass.
take a walk.
Breathe
Go do
fresh
something.
air. Well, while you're doing that, while you're outside walking around, we've got some interesting stuff for you to listen to today. Today, we're going to solve the issue. We have a definitive answer. We're going to solve the issue of buying a home versus renting a home. We've figured it out.
Finally.
We know.
Finally.
Yeah. For how many hundreds of years people have been wondering what to do. Well, we finally stumbled upon the answer. It's the right answer for everyone, no matter your situation, right?
Is this where the disclaimer comes in?
Yeah, I think that, well, it should be implied disclaimer. Like, first of all, we don't know what we're talking about. That's the first disclaimer. Second of all, your experience may vary. But yeah, we're going to talk about buying versus renting a home today on the podcast. We're going to break down pros and cons of both. And despite my promise of we already know the answer, we don't. We're going to just help you kind of balance the various aspects of this really important decision with different arguments, pros, cons, etc. I know you and Megan have dealt with this a lot as you PCS'd around, correct?
I want to say we PCS'd probably 8 or 9 times or so. In that, moved houses probably 13 or 14 different times. And so for most of all of our duty stations, we had to deal with the choice. Do we rent? Do we buy? And a couple of times we decided to buy. And I say that once in the middle of our career and then once at the end of our career, we decided to buy a home. But I think the lessons learned out of that informed whether or not it was worth it for us to continue to buy throughout our career or just wait till the very end.
Well, looking forward to harvesting all that good wisdom you've accumulated over the years. But first, we've got some business to take care of. Let's check out some headlines. Today's headline actually is 2 headlines. They're both by Amanda Miller over at military.com. They were published about a month ago. We're recording this in middle of October, but these were published at the beginning of September, first week of September. Really timely articles from Amanda Miller about open enrollment coming up. The first article is FedVip open season for military and retiree health insurance. And the other article, everything you need to know about TRICARE open enrollment. Now, a lot of similarities between these two, FedVip and TRICARE. Let's hit those first. Both of them opened up November 10th, and they're live for a few weeks. They close around the same time, not the same date. December 8th for FedVip, December 9th for TRICARE. So The other similarity they share is that any of these decisions you make during an open enrollment regarding your coverage, health insurance, or these other benefits we're going to break down, they take effect on January 1st. We're going to talk about both of these, but we're going to break them down one at a time. We'll begin with FedVIP before we move on to TRICARE. Now, for FedVIP, the most important thing for military to know is one of the most widely used parts of FedVIP is for military retirees to purchase their dental and vision coverage.
Yeah, pretty important to remember that FedVIP is open not only to retirees, but also to active duty service member families, I should say. So for both dental and vision. And if you're ever curious about whether or not you qualify for FedVIP coverages, you can go to their website through Benefeds, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes. And it'll actually walk you through based on your service and your association with a service and where you are, active duty or retiree. And it'll tell you what you're qualified for under the FedVIP program.
I didn't know that. I didn't know I had that tool. That's really great because to your point, it applies to active duty families, the military retirees to purchase dental and vision, which is kind of a forgotten about thing. Like we've been taking care of our whole career and all of a sudden you're like, hey, yeah, you got to buy dental and vision when you retire. And also for active duty families and TRICARE Reserve Select as well to purchase vision. And I know if you're active duty, you hear that. You're like, wait, we've got vision taken care of. But for family members, it's limited to those exams, right? So if you have other really complicated situations with your dependents, such as surgeries or things like that, finding a qualifying plan, vision protection for you and your family might be beneficial to check out in the FedVIP under the benefits, as you pointed out. All right, so that's FedVIP. And next, let's talk about TRICARE, because I know that's what applies most to our listeners is the TRICARE open enrollment. Probably the most common use of the TRICARE open enrollment window is moving from TRICARE Prime to TRICARE Select or TRICARE Select to TRICARE Prime. And I don't know about you, Omen, but my whole career, we did Prime. We started out and we just rode that all the way to the end. I don't know if we even really considered the fact that we could change or that we wanted to.
Yeah, Rob, I'll be honest with you. Like, I was probably one of the worst ones that put my head in the sand when it came to selecting TRICARE Select versus Prime. We'd probably considered it. We had a couple duty stations even where we knew we had to go to a different coverage. When we were living over in England, that was probably the most complicated coverage we had with the TRICARE Prime overseas remote because we had no access to military care over there. And so whenever you talk about open enrollment for TRICARE, for me, I was just like, that doesn't apply to me. So moving on, what's my next target? Yeah. So yeah, for sure, this is something to actually pay attention to. So I'm just telling you, don't be me.
Yeah, right. I had the same experience, although it was with, friends and family members. If we ever talked about their benefits, it's like crazy fun party. We're talking about their employer provided benefits. But if it ever came up, I just felt like I'm such a child. Like, I don't know anything about all this grown-up talk, open enrollment and benefits, because it was just something we didn't have to worry about in the military. But you should look ahead. Speaking of which, the open enrollment is the time to look ahead and think about what you might need in the future in the next year. Your situation might change. Your spouse might not like TRICARE Prime. They might want to be seen at a doctor that they prefer, in which case Select might be better for you. So the open enrollment is the window where you can take advantage of understanding what your situation is developing towards and moving into a plan that better fits what you intend for your coverage to happen in the future. Now, that's forward-looking, but there are other events that can happen other than open enrollment that you can change your TRICARE from, Prime to Standard. And those are called qualifying life events. Can you break those down for us real quick?
Yeah, for sure. So Rob, as you had mentioned, right? So during the open enrollment season, that is your chance to kind of review your year in the past and think, how did my life change? And what do I think I'm going to need a year in advance? There are a couple of events, right? Qualifying life events that occur to you. And these are the points at which now you can actually change your coverage at some other point outside of the open enrollment window. And, it's probably something good to talk about here too. Open enrollment is not just limited to TRICARE. It's not limited to FedVIP. For the most part, most people with a workplace healthcare plan, to include Medicare, not a workplace plan, but Medicare itself, are looking at open enrollment in the fall. Additionally, most of these workplace plans have very similar qualifying life events too. So if you have a baby, if you lose a job, if you have an adoption even, if you get married, if you get divorced, these are all qualifying life events, not only with TRICARE, but with most healthcare plans. So whenever one of those events happens, somewhere on the list of things, it's probably not at the top of your list, but somewhere on the list of things, this is where you would think, maybe my healthcare plan doesn't support me in the way that I need it to. Maybe it's too much coverage. Maybe it's too little coverage. And now I have an opportunity to change. And most of those qualifying life events come with windows, right? Like 60-day, 90-day windows where you can actually make those changes. So you are a little bit limited. You do need to make sure it is at least on the list, maybe somewhere in the middle of your list, but make those changes.
So those of you getting divorced, Omen, are you telling people to go first to TRICARE, right? If you get a divorce, is that it?
The TRICARE people do not need to be the first people to know that you're getting a divorce.
Yeah, your list is going to be long. This might not be at the top of it, but it should be on it. That's a really good point. One more thing, Amanda Miller notes here that pregnancy is not a QLE. Birth is, pregnancy is not. So might require some forethought if you're hoping to get that prenatal care at a private location versus military. Going back real quick, talk about open enrollments, like looking ahead. Qualifying life event is like, okay, this happened now, and now we need to make a change. Looking ahead, if you're really thoughtful about things that are coming up in your life, this can be really beneficial financially. I'm going to share the story. When our oldest was getting to the age where she needed braces, we actually went and checked out what the TRICARE dental at the time was going to cover. We realized we were going to have to come out of pocket for most of the coverage for ortho for our family plan through TRICARE. So my wife being a federal employee, we went over to Benefeds during open enrollment to check out what she could get, what we could get under her coverage. And fortunately, we found one that coordinated benefits with TRICARE. It was a high plan, high dental, high family plan. But one of the great things about it is it had unlimited ortho at the time. So for the entire family, which is crazy. Now they've since knocked it down to a limit, but it's still super high. So long story short, we're on our second kid in braces. He's almost done, and we got a third one coming up quick. We expect to get through all three orthodontic experiences with the children with nothing out of pocket other than a pretty substantial premium, as you might expect. But yeah, we've saved a boatload of money doing this.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think, key out of that is you understood your benefits, you knew how to employ your benefits. And there are little nuggets like this buried within benefits, sometimes not buried very deep, but they are sometimes a little bit hidden. You have to do a little bit of work, do a little bit of reading, and finding benefits like that. I mean, at the end of the day, for braces for 3 kids, like, wow, that's really good.
Yeah, it was a big win. Yeah, like you said, go in, you can compare all the different aspects of each of these plans. It takes some work, but yeah, go in, see which one works best for you. Hey, let's hit FSAs as well real quick, just because it does apply to military and federal military retirees in different ways. So the open enrollment period is also the time where you can participate in different flexible spending accounts, different types. We'll break it down as quick as we can here. But the main idea of a flexible spending account, it's wages withheld from your pay, tax-free, so you do not pay taxes on that money. And then you're allowed access to those funds so long as it's used for what's called a qualifying expense. So if it's a healthcare flex spending account for healthcare expenses, dependent care flex spending account, for dependent care expenses. So it's basically the government's way of getting tax-free money to you. So you should not overlook this benefit if it applies to you.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you're wondering what in the world is an FSA, and Rob just did a great job explaining that to you.
Thank you.
You're not just out in the dark on this one, right? Like, this only just came around earlier this year. There was a special open enrollment period in March that allowed people to enroll into this. But this is the first open enrollment season where now FSA is included for active duty military for both healthcare and dependent care. And so if you look at your W-2 at the end of the year when you do your taxes, and you've noticed that the amount of money that you've been paid over the year does not match the amount of money that you're being taxed on at the end of the year, the FSA, both healthcare and dependent care, is simply going to increase that void, right? Like it's going to make that difference
Yeah.
bigger, which is going to be amazing, right? So the things that you probably need to keep in mind with FSAs is the rollovers. There's a lot of pre-planning that goes into effect with FSAs because you can't roll over either all or most of your money in either one of these programs. So for the healthcare FSA, there is a long list of things that you can spend money on that are qualifying.
Yeah,
What are you going to say, Rob?
Yeah, just real quick. You mentioned the rollover. So in case we're talking to somebody's listening, they don't know what we're talking about. What Omen means is, for the year to year, you can contribute up to a certain amount for each of these types of plans. So what he means is if you don't use it, so if you don't have those qualifying expenses enough to use that money, you may lose that money entirely. So you go from a tax-free opportunity to spend money to actually losing money, which is really not great. So that was just a warning. We'll break those numbers down here in a moment. But yeah, go ahead. You're about to talk about the healthcare FSA, correct?
Yeah. So healthcare FSA, right? And I'll break out my crayons here in a second. So healthcare FSA, long list of things that, and we'll put a link to FSA. I think it's FSA Feds, I believe, FSA Feds. We'll put that link in the show notes. But very long list of things that you can spend this money on. If you don't think that you're going to spend all of the contribution limit on that money, you will lose a lot of your money. The limit for 2025, the amount of money that you could actually put towards an FSA in 2025 is $3,300. For 2026, that number hasn't actually come out yet, but we think that it's probably going to be about the same. You can only roll over 20% of that $3,300. So in this case, $660 you can roll over from year to year. If you don't spend all that money, just like Rob said, you will lose anything above $660. So just as he said, you're going to move from you're saving taxes to now you've literally just lost that money. So it does take some pre-planning to understand how much money you think that you're going to spend on your healthcare FSA.
So for the healthcare FSA, it's important to note military, active duty, or anybody with TRICARE, et cetera, you might be wondering, well, how's this apply to me? Especially if you have TRICARE Prime. Like, why would I want anything like this? I'm not paying for my healthcare. I'm not paying anything. It's all included. Well, to your point, you mentioned earlier, there's a lot that you can use this for. There's, copays, deductibles, coinsurance, not for you. If you're TRICARE Prime, you're not going to have any of that. Prescription medications, not for you. Now, here we go. Over-the-counter meds, which you can still get through TRICARE, but if you happen to purchase over-the-counter, you can use your FSA for that. Vision and dental care, for anything you're paying out of pocket for, eyeglasses for your family, eyeglasses for you if you don't love what's provided for you, or any other thing you pay out of pocket for. And there's lotions and like bandages and things like that it can qualify. Is that correct?
I mean, believe it or not, there's like massages on there too. If you are in serious pain or something like that, again, all these have to be medically documented and to be a qualified expense. Mm-hmm. But I think there's 4 pages of different expenses, and some of them just completely, you wouldn't even think about it. But any trip that you ever take to CVS or Rite Aid or Walmart or anything in the pharmacy section, if you're spending that money on your own debit card, most likely you can actually use FSA for it.
Okay. Yeah. And so that might not apply to you, and you might not be worth it to you. But the FSA that does apply to most folks, especially parents, is the dependent care FSA. And this is one that's really powerful.
Oh yeah, for sure. So the limit in 2025 is $5,000 per household, but in 2026 is increasing to $7,500. And anybody with childcare knows that they are probably already spending $7,500 a year in childcare.
Yeah, that's
so
3 months.
if that's you, max this thing out and take $7,500 off your taxes for next year. Do that. But be careful. Again, pre-plan this out because maybe your childcare expenses don't make it up to $7,500. There is no rollover. You will lose anything that is above your contribution amount every single year that you don't use.
Yeah.
Expenses here for, like we stated the obvious, like childcare, after school care, things like that, but summer camps too as well. Like anything that you would use that would enable the parent to either work, to go to school, or to find work. Those are qualifying expenses for those, for people to watch after your kid, and not just your kid.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, how many people do you know that actually look after their parents too?
Yeah, quite a few.
And so, yeah, you can absolutely use this for if you're having somebody to come in to help watch your parents while you do those things, go to work, go to school, or look for a job.
And to hammer home this point, the $7,500, if you're in the 22% tax bracket, that's a tax savings of $1,650. Not a tax deduction. The tax deduction is the $7,500. It's a tax savings of $1,650. That's $1,650 in your pocket in the year that you otherwise would have had to pay for taxes, right?
Did you just do that in your head?
No, I had a calculator on my phone and I was looking at it and you caught me and that's why you're asking. Well, fair enough. Okay. So I can't do that quick math in my head, but,
yeah. So just, we could probably sum this up really well with, for your healthcare and your dependent care FSAs, price is right rules, right? Mm-hmm. Closest without going over wins.
Good point. Good sum up for FSA. Good to know. And also just remember the open enrollment's your chance to look ahead. And the qualifying life event is like, this happened to me. You can do that at any time. You can check out these benefits available to you. We obviously just touched on everything. This is not a, this is a very brief overview. So check in with HR, go to HR department, talk to them about the options, tell them what's going on. Like, hey, we got this expense or this thing expecting to happen next year. What do you recommend? And let them help you out.
Yeah. FSA Feds is actually a pretty good website too. So make sure you click over there, do a little bit of reading around and see what you can qualify for.
Hey gang, it's Rob here. I wanted to take a moment and tell you a little more about my buddy Omen and his financial planning firm, Formander Wealth Management. As you already know, Omen is a proud Marine Corps retiree turned financial advisor. That's right, his firm is a faith-based financial advice firm focused on the values and life goals of active duty military veterans and retirees, federal and state government employees, and of course, all their families. Formander Wealth Management is a fiduciary, fee-only, flat fee firm. That means there's no commissions, no referral fees, and no percentage of asset management charges. Just one clear price for advice that is always in your best interest. Whether you're preparing for retirement, navigating a major life change, or simply seeking clarity in your financial decisions, Formander stands ready to serve. Learn more at www.formander.com. That's www.4myndr.com.
Formander Wealth Management, LLC is a registered investment advisor in the Commonwealth of Virginia. This advertisement is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice or solicitation to buy or sell securities. All investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Please consult a qualified financial professional before making any investment decisions.
Hey, now it's time to move on to the meat of the show today. We're talking about buying versus renting. All right, so we're broken this down between buying and renting. So we're going to start with buying. We're going to do the pros and cons. We're going to list those out, then renting, and then kind of, share our stories, our little insights that we have for you. But this is a huge decision and one that military folks have to face all the time. Most people, they have to face this a couple of times in their life. And here, military, you're forced to stare at this challenge every single time you PCS. Now, you might get better at it. You might understand your situation better and be like, hey, we've figured out owning is best for us as renting is best for us. But this is something you have to weigh each time. So we've compiled these lists and we're talking about some various things that you might not be aware of that might tilt your opinion one way or the other on either of these options. So we'll start with part one, is buying a home. This is the American dream, right? The white picket fence, the dog, paying through your nose for property taxes. Of buying a home. Now, there are quite a few pros to buying a home, and probably the first one that everyone thinks of and cites when they talk about buying a home is enriching themselves and building, wealth. And that's building equity. Every time you make a mortgage payment, your equity goes up, your ownership in the home goes up.
That's right. I mean, at the end of the day, you are handing over money, whether it's you're giving up your BAH to live on base or you're giving up your BAH to pay rent. You might as well take your BAH and make a mortgage payment because it builds your own equity in the home.
Correct. Yeah. And that equity sits on the positive side of your personal balance sheet and it grows your net worth, right? If you're renting, you're not doing that. With home ownership, every time you're paying that mortgage payment, the amount you owe goes down, i.e. the stake, your ownership in the home goes up and your net worth builds.
And in the military, you're doing it tax-free, right? You're doing it with the tax-free BAH.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but you're paying taxes, right, on it? I don't know. I know they're going to get you.
Yeah.
All right. So it acts as kind of a forced savings. We have some cautions about that, but yeah, technically you're saving that money into something that you own. You also get stability and control when it comes to home ownership. That's a really big one. This is your home. You could do what you want, right? With the HOA's blessing at times. But yeah, go ahead.
Or if you don't have one.
Right. You could do what you want. It's your place. It's your home. It's something you can make you feel good. And I know you grew up in a pretty one house, right? Your entire youth. You told me that before.
Yeah. I mean, one house from when I was 2 till I joined the Marine Corps. And even then, my parents stayed in that home for another 15 years afterward. And so I think amongst the moving around from duty station to duty station, there's always this, I wanted to be able to give my boys and my wife a stable home, like what I grew up in, where I only went to one elementary school or one high school. That kind of mindset really kind of set in. And that's the kind of stability I really longed for, even in my military career.
Yeah, it's great. That's what I think a lot of people strive for, with that stability and trying to give it to your kids. With the military, it's not always an option, but it can be if you find that one duty station where you can link together those multiple assignments, or grab that duty station near the end of your career, maybe when your kids are young, and buy the home and while you're planning on getting out of the military, and creating that stability for them, passing it on and creating those memories. Yeah, it's great.
My parents too, they bolted on probably 3 or 4 rooms as our family grew. They just added these things onto a house too. So yeah, that kind of control and being able to make the house your own, absolutely wanted that.
So back to the financial side, rather the emotional side of things, with, we talked about when you're paying down your home, it contributes to your net worth. Well, the appreciation of the home contributes to your net worth too, right?
That's fun.
While you're paying down this home, right? Yeah, you're paying down the certain balance, but the balance was what you bought it. And meanwhile, now you're watching your home value increase over time. So your ownership stake is getting bigger and bigger. I did want to talk about how this works in historical figures, because over time, the history of real estate, usually real estate appreciates about 4% a year, which is very good, right? If you're looking at it as an investment, which we can talk about. But in the last 10 years has seen some remarkable times. It's averaged 7% growth over the last 10 years and 9% over the last 5, which is crazy. That's what I like to call unsustainable.
You've heard, how many clients have you heard say, "Oh, I should have bought. And based on what you just said, we're going to have a bunch of people going out and buying a house right now.
Well, yeah, that, and also they're waiting for it to pop. They might be the wise ones waiting, because 9% growth over 5 years signals, I think what we already know is that it's probably a bubble, probably waiting for it to come down. But it averages that 4%. So if we are overvalued and it does pop, it's not going to feel great, but just remember that average line moving up at 4%, we're probably going to shift more down towards that over time, that 4% rate.
Yeah.
Now, there's some tax advantages to owning a house, which is is really, when people talk about buying a home, they're trying to get that tax advantage. No, I'm kidding. But there are tax advantages to buying a home that you need to be aware of. And they've changed recently, going into next year, which is a really big deal. If you're someone that normally does the standard deduction and your situation hasn't changed, in other words, you haven't bought a house or moved or anything, you're like, yeah, we take the standard deduction, which is really high. This is something you'd be aware of. The SALT deduction was $10,000. For 2025, it's moving to 40 grand, right? State and local taxes, that's what SALT stands for. So up until this year and over the last 8 years, you've only been able to deduct up to $10,000 of that if you itemize. Okay. So if you're somebody who does a standard deduction, really not an issue. But if you are close when you itemize to that standard deduction, and this might put you over, you might now be an itemized tax filer. If you itemized before with the $10,000 cap and you were hitting it, now you're going to be able to deduct even more based on how, your property taxes and your state taxes, how much you paid over the year.
The standard deduction and also with OBBA did not change. In fact, it actually went up just slightly. So I think a lot of people are still going to find themselves under the standard deduction. But if you took a mortgage any time in the last, 3 to 4 years, as mortgage interest rates were on the rise, and if you were caught out that the fact that you've got some state and local taxes that are well above $10,000, and now that's unleashed basically up to $40,000, there's a great chance that you could be itemizing. So yeah, that's a great point to make.
Yeah, work with a pro and just make sure to compare. Don't just assume your situation remains the same every year. Now, the other tax benefit to owning a home is what's called a very sexy name, the Section 121 exclusion, but it's a very beneficial exclusion. It allows you, when you sell your home, that you can get $500,000 of profit. That's above your basis that you paid for it. $500,000 if you're married, $250,000 if you're single. You get all that money tax-free. You don't have to pay capital gains on it.
Yeah, there's a couple of requirements for that. Like you have to be having owned that home and lived in that home for 2 of the last 5 years. If you're active duty, like actually active duty, you can't have started this active duty and then retired or got out or something like that. You have to remain active duty. There's a 10-year pause on that. So it gives you a total of 15 years, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an exclusion that you don't want to miss for sure. You want to follow the rules on that one.
Yeah, a lot of really savvy military folks that do buy, they buy a home, they PCS, they keep that, they rent it out, and they buy again. So they start accumulating properties. As you liquidate those properties, you can take advantage of this 121 exclusion every 2 years, right? Every 2 years.
Yeah, every 2 years.
You can do it. Yeah.
Yep.
But you have to be careful because you have had to have lived in that time frame, either the 2 in the 5 years or the 10-year extension, whatever. You got to be careful that you're doing it correctly. Now, just to note, for landlords, this applies to the capital gains portion only. It doesn't apply to the $1,250 recapture that you have to pay if you've been depreciating a home. Now, it's not all rainbows when it comes to buying, right? There are cons that you should be aware of, especially for military if you're moving around a lot. The first one is you can be house poor if you find yourself buying. If you're married to the idea of buying no matter what, and you end up in the wrong situation, in the wrong market, you can quickly end up being house poor.
I think even in today's house prices versus the BH that you would get, I think it'd be really difficult for people to actually purchase a home and remain under, 25, 28% or so of their total gross monthly income and try to remain there in order not to feel house poor. Because if your expenses for the house start to creep up, and they will creep up, like Rob, how many trips did you take to Lowe's when you bought your house? Like I lived there. I lived at Lowe's, right? So all of these expenses just add up. And if you're not aware or you underestimate, maybe sometimes negligently underestimate, it can really make you feel house poor, and you own the house. Yeah. There's nothing you can do at this point.
Yeah, great points. Before we move on to those fees, real quick, I do have a stat here to share. The con of buying a house and talk about the price of the mortgage payment in addition to any other like down payment or whatever you're doing to secure the loan. Mortgage payments are typically about 38% higher than rental prices. So yeah, you're paying a lot more month to month. Add on to that, what you mentioned, the maintenance and repairs. That's our next con. Maintenance and repairs, a home very often overlooked. Anytime I model a home purchase for someone, one of my clients, I usually do 1% is what I throw in there.
Easy.
It's quite a bit of money. And people look at it, they're like, wait, $5,000. Like if their home is $500,000, they're like, $5,000 for maintenance and repairs. Like, that's nuts. And yeah, you're not going to spend the exact amount, $416 every single month. But if you look back at all those trips to Home Depot and Lowe's, like you said, you'd be surprised. It adds up really fast.
When you first purchase a home, I mean, you are, if you're anything like me, like when we saw this home and the pictures and the video walkthrough and all the other things that we did, we're like, this is a perfect home. It was even owned by a home inspector. So we said, how bad could it be?
He knew what to hide then.
He knew exactly what to hide. So 3 months later, we're buying a new air conditioner. Like, yeah, all this kind of spreads out. But I mean, you put that 1% on there. I would say that sometimes is relatively low, actually.
Yeah. Some people put 1 to 4%. Some planners, I've seen that, but we keep it, moderate. And then if there's anything above it, like, hey, we might need a new air conditioner, let's tack that on as a separate expense. But yeah, to your point, man, 1 to 4% is likely if you're trying to estimate over the life of owning the home. So if it breaks, it's yours. You got to fix it. Toilet, water lines, whatever, you got to deal with this. You got to insure it. You got to take care of it. You got to pay for repairs. This is yours. You bought it. That was what you wanted with the pros, but now you own it and you got to take care of it. There's a few other cons I want to get to. First, you might end up in a market that's not ideal when you're ready to sell. There's some liquidity problems when it comes to home ownership. If you do need to unload it and you don't have the flexibility to be able to wait for it to sell or sell at the price you want.
Every ounce of money that you've been pouring into this is poured into the structure of the house. And you can't just go sell off a bathroom or something like that and get that money back. You have to sell the home. When we purchased our home in Yuma, we were able to sell it when we moved that duty station, and we got a small amount of money back from that. But like ultimately, I don't think it even came close to the money that we put into it. And so, lesson learned for us, but that's the point of this low liquidity con is the fact that the money that you put into the home is actually stored up in the home. It's not like I can just go to the bank and get it out.
That's right. And it kind of acts as a very, very strange kind of mirror to one of our pros, which was that you own a lot of equity in this home. A lot of advisors don't even put the value of your home on your balance sheet. I've seen that because they don't consider it part of your net worth, because what are you going to do with it? You can't sell, like you said, you can't sell your bathroom. You can't sell a piece of your home. There are certain benefits like trying to fund long-term care, which can be tricky. Probably most common is like a legacy to your kids, so you can leave it. It's a nice, little heir to your children and they can sell it, or, if one of them wants to live in it or whatever. And possibly, I think one of the other ones is getting a HELOC, which are usually pretty nice. If you need to borrow money, HELOCs can be advantageous. But as far as it being on your net worth or part of your net worth, it doesn't really act like that, like a retirement account does, like a savings account or any other type of asset you can sell.
Yeah, for sure. Last point is the flexibility or the lack thereof, especially for those in the military. So if you plan to purchase a home and then you also plan to sell a home, buying a home, that is your choice. Selling a home is not your choice.
That's a good point.
You can put it on the market all you want, but somebody has to buy it, right? And so you get to the end of the duty station and maybe you don't want to be there anymore. Maybe this is the last place on earth you'd ever want to own a home, and you can't sell it because this is the last place on earth anybody wants to buy a home. And so now you're stuck with this home and you got to go. So the lack of flexibility, I think, is a pretty significant con that you do not want to skip over when you were thinking about, should I buy a house in this particular location? Quick ship story here. A friend of mine, and we both got orders to Yuma at the same time. We both bought a house at the same time, and we both got orders out at the same time. His house was 3 blocks away from mine, and we both went to sell. I sold. He didn't. And he was, I remember the stress that they were going through, that they had to, there was a decision point where they had to decide, okay, we got to take it off the market as something we're selling. And now we got to find a management company. And now we got to turn around and make this thing a rental. Like there's a lot of different steps to turn this thing into a rental versus sell. And so just think through those situations of what if I can't sell this home when I want to, and what's that going to feel like before you go into actually buying a home.
How short was that turnaround from when you got assigned to Yuma and your buddy assigned to Yuma and then you had to leave?
3 years.
Yeah.
We both had 3 years there.
That's a short window. I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks to trying to buy is if you're trying to do it in that short window, because prices appreciate over time. It might not appreciate over 3 years. And
That's
buying the whole transaction of buying a home is expensive. Don't forget that. You got to sink, down payments and points or whatever, trying to make this work for you. Well, you might have to go out of pocket quite a bit in order to break even. I mean, you might break even after 4 or 5 years when it comes to all the costs associated with buying. So that quick turnaround 3-year window might not be a good idea to buy.
Hi, Omen here. I know Rob and I have a lot of fun on the show, but I want to take a minute to get serious with you about Rob's financial planning firm, Everman Prosperity. Rob built his firm from the ground up around the core principle of being a fiduciary, serving the best interest of Americans and their families. No commissions, no sales, and no referral fees. Rob believes financial planning should be a transparent, ongoing process that provides peace of mind today and prosperous days tomorrow. Whether you're active duty, navigating retirement the first or the second time, need help managing your investments, or working to build a legacy, Rob meets you right where you are, but will never leave you there. Either click the link in the show notes or visit prosperwitheverman.com today to schedule your free consultation. Everman Prosperity. Pursue your prosperous life.
Everman Prosperity LLC is a registered investment advisor in the Commonwealth of Virginia. This advertisement is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice or a solicitation to buy or sell securities. All investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Please consult a qualified financial professional before making any investment decisions.
So that's buying. Okay. Run it down. Pros, cons of buying. Let's go to renting. Now, this one's a little more clear cut, which is nice because it's a simple transaction, really. Like you're paying monthly to rent and you're going to live in this place and that's it. But there are some things to consider. We do it the same way here. We're going to talk about the pros first, then break down the cons. Let's do the pros first. Flexibility, the ultimate benefit of renting. I don't know there's much more to say about that, but really you're not locked in. It's not yours. You can leave so long as the lease lets you, but you're free to go at the end of the lease.
Yeah. And if you're active duty military, the lease is going to let you leave. But I can't think of an easier way to leave a place amongst the stress of a PCS, of just hiring somebody to clean the house. You pack up the van and you're gone and you don't have to worry about it. It is so nice.
Yeah. When you're done. Yeah. When you're all ready to go, this is no longer your problem. You're ready to move on to the next thing, the next rental or the next purchase if you're going to buy, but you're able to focus on your next duty station, which is really nice. Along with the freedom to be able to move as much as you want. The other pro I want to mention here is no maintenance worries. You don't have to pay for anything breaks. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to pay for it.
Again, a little bit of a C story here. Just be clear on what is expected of you as a renter for maintenance and what the landlord will actually take care of. A couple of houses ago, we had a new-ish landlord. Like she had not actually rented out a home before, which is fine. Like we're happy to work with her. And but when it came to things like pressure washing the algae off the side of the house, that I felt was not my responsibility. And she had a different opinion on that one. So, we had to kind of come to a compromise on how that was going to work out. So just making sure that you're clear on what maintenance is yours. Changing light bulbs clearly is going to be your deal. Changing the air filter is probably going to be the renter. But being very clear on what is yours and what is the landlord's.
Yeah. I do have one aside here. I don't think I've told you this before. My mother-in-law, she rented out duplexes in Columbus, Ohio. And usually these were college-aged kids or young adults. She'd rent these too. But there was one in particular. She tells a story. I love it. They called her over. She did a lot of the maintenance herself. They said, "Oh, our drain is clogged." They called her over for that. And she's like, "Okay." So she comes over and she pulls the thing out of the sink. And she pulls a rat's worth of hair like this disgusting glob of their
Oh.
hair, that they had washing their hair or whatever. Yeah.
Oh.
And so problem solved, right? But instead of throwing it away, she took a paper towel, she laid it on the sink, and she just laid it there for them on the sink, which is just the most beautiful, like passive aggressive, like, yeah, feel free to call me if any other problems arise. But
That classic. Absolutely
God,
classic.
so good. Yeah. Okay. All right. Back. We're getting off topic here. So predictable costs are another pro to renting. You know what your rent's going to be during the lease term, right? As we mentioned, 38% lower than mortgage. It's going to be cheaper and it's going to be pretty predictable.
Yeah, I mean, all you really have to worry about probably is your first and last month rent, maybe doubling up on things. But for the most part, your rent is going to remain the same within that same lease contract.
Yeah, with the lower rent too. Don't forget, the idea is you're doing a financially beneficial thing. So be careful how you spend that difference. Okay, so if you invest, like if you spend it all and like, okay, we're eating out every night because we're renting, it's probably not a good use of your savings. But yeah, it is
This
cheaper.
is not a cash flow episode. Not a cash flow episode.
My mind is always on cash flow. I can't help it. Yeah, so that's it. That's pretty much the simple in and out of pros when it comes to renting. But there are a few cons that you should be aware of. They're not as much as the cons of owning a home, but there are some cons. First of all, it's not yours, which is the mirror of the fact that you don't of owning a home where it is yours. This is not yours. So you do have to be mindful of how you treat it, how you take care of it. You can't usually make permanent adjustments to the home, nor would you want to, because you would pay for it if it was you doing it. So you have to kind of be at the mercy of what the landlord wants you to do with it.
For me, whether or not I was building the wealth of a landlord or building my own wealth, this is where the rubber meets the road. I always questioned, do I want my BH going to somebody else, or can I keep this somehow myself through the equity in my home? So I always tripped up over this particular con every single PCS.
Yeah, that mental block, that's real. Like, okay, this is your money. You're getting paid for your job, your service. And now you're handing it off to somebody else and building the equity in their home that they have as an investment. Yeah. You also can't control this because you don't own it. You can't remodel. You can't paint the walls. As I said, I heard you touched on this, but I mean,
you can paint walls. You can paint walls. You just have to paint them back. So after our first house, we said, never again. We're just going to live with white walls.
The other thing to consider, it is cheaper to rent, but if you're renting for the rest of your life, there is some reality you need to be aware of. And that is inflation will impact how much you're paying for rent. Okay. So I put some numbers in here, looking at the rent inflation. If it inflated at, let's say 3% a year. So starting out, let's start with the numbers as they are averaged today. Average cost today of renting is about $2,000 a month. Okay. Average per month cost of a mortgage today is $2,768. That's the 38% difference we talked about before. But let's look at this over time. That $2,000 rent average now will not remain $2,000 for the next 30 years or the rest of your life. It will increase. Now, your wages should and probably will increase along with it. So we'll always feel like $2,000, hopefully. But if it increases by 3% a year over 30 years, that $2,000 payment is now $4,854. Okay.
Golly.
Yeah. But if we look at the mortgage payment, that $2,768, now disclaimer real quick, your insurance and taxes will likely increase. So the escrow part of your payment will increase, but generally speaking, mortgage payments remain relatively stable. So let's just assume that $2,768 average today, let's deflate that over 30 years. And the reason why we do that is because it will remain stable while your wages should increase, right? So if we deflate that by 3% over 30 years, instead of $2,768, you have a payment of $1,140 a month. How you process that's how it will feel in today's dollars. So paying $2,768 in 30 years will feel like paying $1,140 in today's dollars.
That's pretty incredible what that difference is, right? Like just what that feels like. But I still know a lot of people even financial planners who have said, you know what? I'm done with owning a home. I don't care that rent feels that way. I just, the ease, and I'll get my wealth somewhere else, just not my home.
I have a point to support that. Real quick, let's talk about the one last thing, the con.
Okay.
You get none of the long-term tax benefits or appreciation with renting. Okay, so that last con, we'll throw that in there. All those tax benefits we talked about, the appreciation of the home because you don't own it, you miss out on all that. But you do get to what you just talked about, the peace of mind. And a lot of people choose that over their lifetime. I have a client that's been a lifelong renter and she's approaching retirement. She plans to rent for the rest of her life. Tell you what, her plan looks fantastic. She looks fantastic. Yeah, we could drop a home in there and her end of life value, when she dies, might be a little bit more. But as far as success of her plan, it probably not going to move the needle at all if she chose to buy, right? This is more about her choice to live how she wants to live.
I think this is the best thing about being a financial planner because it's not about getting as much money as you can.
Mm-hmm.
It is those feelings of the ease provided by just a decision to rent for the rest of your life. Like you can almost feel that coming off of her shoulders as you describe that of like, I don't have to deal with that for the rest of my life. And my plan still works. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, she's really happy. And as we wrap this up, like, I think that's the message that I think we need to really take away. You should listen to everything we talked about. You should do your own research and you should examine your own situation. But the decision you make is one that you're going to have to live with. You can make that decision like, we're going to buy and the market goes up or down, or we're going to buy and the market's, everything piling up with the home values and you can't afford it. You get priced out. All these things can happen to you. And you can look back in 5 years and be like, well, we made the wrong decision. We've been here now for 5 years. We didn't think we'd be here and we rented, and look at how the home values are really high. All those probably will happen to you at some point. But the point is, make the best decision you can and then make that best decision the right decision. And what I mean by that is just do the best with the information you have available to you today, and then live your life. Your kids are growing up.
No regrets.
Yeah.
No regrets.
Just
go for it.
Your kids are growing up. They might leave the house soon or whatever, or you're spending time with your spouse and enjoying maybe, just your empty nest with them or whatever it is. If you spend time regretting the decision you didn't make, then you're not living in the moment. So make the best decision, the right decision. All right. So I think we've solved it. The answer, right?
That's it. Yes.
There you go.
You have your answer. Everybody has their answer now.
There's
You can just
There's
walk
one
away.
right answer. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
no more should be said about this ever again. But of course, if you have any questions about your circumstance or your needs or where you are and what might be right for you, please send us an email at fiscalfoxhole@gmail.com or reach out to us in the show notes. We're happy to talk to you about your individual circumstance.
I have to get this one in just to end this segment. I think that the answer feels a whole lot like the Monty Python bridge keeper scene. He's like, what's your favorite color? It's blue. Yellow. No.
Rent, buy, rent.
Rent. Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah, you could always find the negative, right? As soon as you do something, buyer's remorse is real, even if you don't buy it. If you don't buy it, you're like, I don't know if we made the right choice or not. But man, live your life. Just enjoy it in the meantime. So we've dove into a lot of nerdery here with buying and renting, spreadsheets, numbers, etc. It's time to have some fun.
Wait. I thought we were having fun.
I'm still clocked in, man. I'm working.
Let's go. Let's have some trivia.
All right. So this is our never ending for the moment. Trivia challenge between the two of us for the prize of pride and pride only. The current score is still an astounding Rob with 0 points and Omen with 0 points. We are currently both nil at this point. This is the point in the episode where one of us will try to gather a point. I think it's my turn. So today, Omen is asking me the trivia question.
Yeah, I've got a doozy here for you, but for the point of playing for pride here, I have to tell you, I feel a little bit like a loser. I don't know about you. I mean, how many episodes have we had and not a single right answer to this point? So maybe you'll break the streak here
Well,
today.
let's be honest. let's be honest though, you started this, right? Episode 1.
It's going to get worse, isn't it?
Yeah, you asked the question. It was like, okay, this is a 25% chance I get this right. Right. So I think at some point, one of us is just going to start adding on answers like, okay. Or we, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I.
I think I'm the only one who actually gives you a 4 answer option here, and your percentage is still less than 25%.
Good point. That's what it feels like. All right, go for it.
Yeah, let's go. All right. Which U.S. president rented out rooms in the White House to help pay
already.
personal debts after leaving the office?
Oh, God.
Thomas Jefferson, Ulysses S. Grant, Harry S. Truman, or Theodore Roosevelt?
Man, it's got to be long ago. I don't know. Why would they rent out in the White House to pay their own debt? That sounds strange. This smells like long ago. But I don't, Jefferson had his estate here in Virginia. So I think, he would probably be fine. And I think Truman's too recent. And Roosevelt, same. I'm going to go Grant.
I figured you actually probably get this one because your son is named Truman, but it is Truman.
That's wild. So that recent that he was. So how did that work out?
It just said after his presidency, Truman was so strapped for cash he couldn't afford a home. He moved back to Missouri and later even rented part of the White House to the government during renovations for the ultimate house hack. So I'm gonna have to look this up. We'll just double check to make sure, but I'm going to go with ChatGPT for the win on this one again.
Yeah, that's fine. Fair enough. I think I scuttled you with a ChatGPT question as well a few episodes ago, so we'll go with it. But a funny story, by the way. Yeah, so my son's name is Truman. Not necessarily after the president or anybody in particular, but I was kind of born in that area. Funny story. So my father, growing up in Independence, Missouri, he'd tell stories about riding their bikes around. It was after the presidency that my dad had told a story about riding bikes, and he and his wife, Truman's wife, be sitting out on their front porch and waving to folks, which is pretty cool. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. We're still 0-0 here at the Fiscal Foxhole, both 100% losers, which to be expected, I think.
Right.
Anyway, we appreciate you hanging out with us, breaking down buying versus renting and other headlines and other amusing little tidbits. That ends it here for today. Omen, what are our takeaways from today?
Our first practical takeaway is open enrollment. Be sure to take a few moments to review your healthcare plan, including your flexible spending accounts. So that's now your dependent care and your healthcare FSA. This is your chance to review your needs from last year and plan ahead for your healthcare needs next year. Our second takeaway is to consider your mission timeline when purchasing a home. Buying a home only makes sense if your timeline and location all line up. If you're moving every few years or unsure where you'll be next, renting can keep you flexible and financially lighter. But if you've got some stability and plan to stay put, buying can certainly make more sense. And our final takeaway, run the numbers, not the hype. There is no one-size-fits-all answer. Despite what Rob and I have told you, housing markets, interest rates, and personal goals all shift. So use the tools that are available to you, use calculators and real data to make the call that's right for you.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have questions you'd like answered on the show, please send us a note to fiscalfoxhole@gmail.com. If you heard something today that you'd like to discuss further, or you just want to dig deeper into your own financial game plan, both Rob and Omen are accepting new clients and always happy to chat. You'll find the links to their websites or to book appointments in the show notes. Rob Moore and Omen Quellvog are both registered investment advisor representatives. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. While they are both advisors, they are not your advisors. Therefore, nothing you hear on Fiscal Foxhole should be taken as specific investment, legal, or tax advice. For guidance tailored to your situation, please consult a qualified professional who understands your individual circumstances.
Omen, it was a big week for me last week and today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
So today begins my terminal leave. It's the first day. Completely.
Amazing.
Yeah, 75 days now, and then SkillBridge, et cetera. So I know in the intro for listeners, we talk about we're retired. That's in the intro. However, I'm in the process, quite literally of retiring. So today was first day of terminal leave, but the big one was Thursday. It was my last mission that I had at Arlington National Cemetery. And it was just really surreal. I had a lot of lasts over the last year, but that one, supporting a funeral there in Arlington, that's been the meat of my entire career, has been supporting those funerals in Arlington National Cemetery. So I chose that as my last one to do. I went out there with a group of folks and executed the mission. It was really great. Still focused on the family, still focused on the mission, right? It's not about me, but it was hard not to kind of get emotional in that moment. So beautiful day, really heavy, bittersweet, a little bitter more than sweet, because I really liked what I did for the Army. Afterwards, I took a stroll through Arlington. I let the band go on the bus and then walked back through and just kind of took a second. But the poignant side, if I can just get a little romantic for you, is eventually I realized as I was walking back to Fort Myer, I was walking the exact same path I walked as a 26-year-old brand new member walking into Arlington. So for about 3/4 of a mile, retracing those steps in the opposite direction. It's really poignant. Really enjoy it. Man, the weather was perfect. The sun was low and it was really super quiet. There wasn't a lot of folks out there. So just something I will never forget. It was really beautiful.
That's amazing. I thought your shoulders looked a little bit lighter here today on the show. But I'm telling you, I think for people in the military, they don't understand or realize what the level of stress noise, like what that floor level looks like or feels like until you get out.
Yeah.
And for me, it took like 3 weeks or so before I realized I'm not going to get another call. I don't have to go on another duty. I don't have to, sit through another 96 while I'm on duty or something of that nature. Like it takes a little while to lose that and realize like, oh, I am on my own. This is cool.
Yeah.
So I hope you get to feel that way as well here shortly. But
I did already.
One of these days. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I did the morning after. Like everyone that got out before me, they said the same thing. They're like, oh, you're going to feel incredible like the first day or maybe within the first 3 weeks. But I didn't believe them because I actually really liked what I was doing. So it was not a day I was really looking forward to doing the last one, although I really love what I'm doing now. Still letting go of that really wonderful thing I had for 23 years of my life. However, the next morning, man, they were right. It felt unbelievable, felt great. I did set my permanent out of office for Outlook. I politely stepped out of all the Signal chats that the groups I was a member of. So yeah, it feels pretty good. You don't see it. You're right. You don't feel that underlying like churning of stress that even though you're handling it, you got it. It's still there. And when you let go, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it truly is the level of responsibility, right? So whenever you're not looking after troops anymore and you don't got to worry about anybody but you and your family, that's really it. So I'm glad you're already starting to feel that. And I thought that my hair would actually go brown again, but it did not. So hopefully yours does not turn gray.
No, I think I'm okay. I got good genes in that way for sure. I think I'll be all right. Hey, so what's up
When's
with
the beard coming?
It is. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm low T.
Low T?
I don't know what it is. I cannot do what you do. Once a year we go away for like 2 weeks to my parents. I let it grow out. I think I can admit that now. I won't get in trouble. It's so pathetic. I look like a 16-year-old kid trying to grow a beard. It's so sad. Well, hey, I do want to ask you though, you're wearing an Air Force hoodie today. What's up with that?
Yeah, I got to support all the services. No, my son is home. He got home probably about an hour and a half before we started recording this. And so we haven't seen him since January outside of Zooms or things like that. So we get him home for a week. He's out of New Mexico, stationed out there at Kirtland. and he's loving life. But it is really, really nice to have him home. He'll be home for both his birthday and his brother's birthday, born 5 days apart. 5 days and a couple of years apart, I should say. Let me just clarify that. It would be miraculous.
You are a human species, right? That's
yeah,
how this works,
yeah.
right?
That's right. That's right. But yeah, it's just fantastic to have him home.
Yeah, you got a full house again. Did he come home with a duffel bag full of dirty clothes and like is it like a college homecoming?
It very well could have been. I mean, he went and crashed because he took the red eye home, and so he said he did not sleep last night. He did have the old duffel bag. I'm not sure if it's full of clean or dirty clothes.
Well, good luck with that.
I can assure you that it's just stuffed full in one way, shape, or form. So it does look like the wrinkle grenade probably went off in his room right now.